CEO Millionaire's life changed at 3 a.m. The dark truth behind the secret song that made him smile. It was a night like no other. The clock struck 3, and the world outside was muted, shrouded in the kind of eerie silence that gripped your soul. Inside his sprawling mansion, James Hargrove, the CEO millionaire known for his iron grip on the corporate landscape, sat alone in his darkened study. The only light flickered from a cracked open laptop, casting long shadows that seemed to dance around him. A heavy weight settled on his chest as he replayed that melody in his mind, the haunting strains of a secret song that had mysteriously appeared in his life just days before, soothing yet sinister. There were whispers at the office, the kind that ignites curiosity and dread. Employees murmured about strange occurrences after hours, of lights flickering ominously, of screams echoing through the halls. Was it all connected to that melody? Every note woven with ancient secrets and hidden meanings? What if the song held the power to change everything? Or worse, what if it was a curse meant to unravel the very fabric of his existence? In the pit of his stomach, James felt an undeniable pull, an unspeakable horror lurking just beneath the surface, begging to be discovered. As he glanced at his reflection in the dark screen, he noticed the hollow look in his eyes, the trembling hands gripping the edge of the desk. It was as if the song had cast a dark spell over him, one that promised not just success but consequences he couldn't even begin to fathom. His phone buzzed suddenly, shattering the stillness. It was a text from his assistant, saying someone had seen him at the club the night he first heard it, the secret song that had transformed him. "We need to talk," the message read, urgency dripping from every word. Was he losing his mind? Or was there really something more sinister brewing? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. James took a deep breath, trying to shake off the dread, but there was no escaping it. The secret melody beckoned him like a siren-esque call. Was anyone else wrapped in its grip? What had been unleashed? As each note played in his head again, he wondered, was it too late to turn back? A chill ran down his spine as the shadows seemed to grow longer, to twist and writhe around him. The door to his study creaked open softly, and he felt a presence, a shadow darker than the night itself. Who was there? What waited beyond the threshold could change everything, and not in a good way. The door swung open wider, revealing a tall figure cloaked in darkness. It's Patricia, his assistant. Her eyes shone with an intensity that cut through the shadows, yet the worry etched on her face reflected his own. The air thickened as palpable tension enveloped them both. "James, we need to discuss what is happening," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, as if afraid the walls might listen. "I came right away when I heard the news from the team." "News?" He felt his heart race, pounding like a drum in his ears. "What news?" he replied, confusion tumbling over fear. "What the hell are you talking about?" Patricia stepped inside, closing the door behind her, and glanced around as if she expected something to leap from the corners. "You're not safe here. That song, it's changing you. And I think it's not just you." "What do you mean?" he demanded, feeling the dread transform into an electric surge of fear and curiosity. She hesitated, then pulled out her phone, tapping quickly. He could see flashes of anxiety in the flickering light as she scrolled through a thread of messages. "Look at this," she said, handing it to him reluctantly. The screen displayed series of posts from employees disturbed and frantic, each one confirming strange experiences in the office after hours. Unexplained shadows, whispers in empty hallways. And then it hit him. They're all connected to you, to the song. James took the phone in trembling hands, scrolling through the messages. They spoke of a darkness that had shadowed the office since his fateful night out. Employees described feeling watched, voices that followed them home. Was it possible that something supernatural had been awakened? The power of the song is escalating, Patricia said urgently, breaking his spiraling thoughts. I found references to it online, old folklore. Legends of a melody that could bring change but at a terrible cost. We've angered something. James, we have to stop this before it consumes you. For a brief moment, the fear morphed into anger. Stop what? I can't just ignore the benefits it's brought. The deals, the connections. I worked hard for this life. Did you? Patricia's voice was sharp, breaking through his defenses. Or did that song build your success on a foundation that is crumbling beneath you? The echoes of her words settled heavily in the air. He remembered the high of success, yet it felt tainted. His heart raced, and the shadows in the room seemed to twitch in agreement. He remembered the melody again. Pulsing in his mind, it thrummed like a heartbeat, its alluring call growing ever louder. But now he felt that heartbeat was laced with darkness, binding him to it in a way he didn't understand but feared deeply. What do we do? He whispered, almost defeated, caught between desire and dread. Patricia's eyes widened behind her veil of fear, and she hesitated. We need to go to the club tonight. The source of it all is there. But you have to promise me something. You won't let it control you. James eyed her, the weight of that promise pressing down on his chest like the haunting melody. Could he risk it all for the truth? Or would venturing into the abyss cost him everything he had fought for? Let us go, he said, his voice trembling but firm. As they stepped outside into the cold night air, a sensation crawled over his skin. Something was watching him, hunting him. The song's whispers beckoned him, swirling with echoes of laughter and screams. This night would either free him or consume him. What awaited them in the dimly lit club, and would they uncover the truth, or would it plunge them deeper into darkness? The city streets glimmered under the sparse streetlights, each flicker illuminating shadows that seemed to move with a mind of their own. James felt an unsettling chill as he and Patricia walked, their footsteps echoing against the concrete. He couldn't shake the dread coiling tightly in his stomach, the whispers of that song coursing through his veins. What if we can't get to it in time? What if it's already too late? Patricia's voice cut through his troubled thoughts, fear bubbling just beneath the surface. We have to try, he replied, determination fighting his inner chaos. The club loomed ahead, a dark silhouette against the night sky, pulsing with a pulsating light that matched the rhythm in his chest, a stark reminder of the hold that song had on him. As they approached, a wave of noise crashed over them. Laughter, shouts, a beat that vibrated through the asphalt like a living organism. It filled the air, drowning out their worries momentarily. They stepped inside, a surreal world unfolding before them. Bodies moving to the hypnotic rhythm, faces illuminated in flashes of neon light. His heart pounded in sync with the bass. The atmosphere felt charged, electric. Every corner of the club seemed to swallow secrets like a beast waiting to pounce. But his focus shifted, narrowing in on a figure among the crowd. A young woman leaned against the bar, her gaze distant, as if she could see beyond the swirling dance floor. He recognized her from the office, Mia, one of his team members who had sent one of those frantic messages. Let us talk to her, James urged Patricia, steering her through the crowd. As they approached, Mia's eyes flared with recognition, a mix of relief and fear surfacing in her features. James, Patricia, thank God you're here. Mia, what is going on? James asked, his voice barely audible over the thumping music. Is it true? Are you experiencing what the others said? She nodded, trembling slightly. I heard it, the song. I thought I was going crazy. Felt like it was calling me. I even saw shadows moving like they were watching me. Her eyes darted around the room, glancing back at the dance floor, as if expecting something to emerge from the chaos. Did you see anything else? Anything that could help us stop this? Patricia pressed urgently. Just before I left I found a record. Mia whispered, her face paling. I thought it might be a joke, but it was hidden in the office archives. When I touched it, I felt a rush, like the song was alive. I couldn't resist. Every time I heard it, I felt pulled back in. James felt the cold grip of realization this was bigger than him. "Where is the record?" he asked. Mia hesitated, chewing her lip. "I don't know if I should. It's in the back room. But you have to promise me it's safe." "Safe? There's nothing safe about this," he said, panic creeping into his voice. Patricia shot him a warning glance, but it was too late. The music swelled around them like a tidal wave, pulling at their very souls as the lights began to flicker more violently. Suddenly, a piercing scream sliced through the revelry, freezing the dancers in place. A figure stumbled from the darkness, pale, wild-eyed, mouth agape in a silent cry. James felt ice run through his veins. The shadows twisted as if to reach for the woman, darkness stretching toward her like fingers eager to claim their prize. She looked directly at him, and her eyes were filled with abject terror. "James, Patricia!" she shrieked, lurching toward them, the panic in her voice urgent, desperate. In that moment, something within him shifted. The song, once a source of power, now felt like a curse, knotting in his gut and igniting every nerve with dread. "Get down!" James yelled, lunging to pull Patricia to safety as the lights dimmed. As they hit the floor, chaos erupted. Bodies surged toward the exit, and in that cacophony, a chilling realization gripped him. Whatever control he thought he had over the situation was slipping away. The shadows writhed closer, the terrible pull of the song whispering temptations once more. The club, once a realm of celebration, morphed into a scene straight from a nightmare. They had to find that record before it consumed them all. What secrets lay hidden in that cursed record? And could they escape this night before it claimed them too? The chaos roared around them, a tidal wave of panic and sound that threatened to swallow everything whole. James clutched Patricia tightly, pulling her behind a nearby table as shards of glass flew from the bar. The air was electrified with fear, and he could hear the frantic heartbeats of the clubgoers drumming in sync with the pounding bass. "Where's the exit?" he shouted over the discord. Patricia's eyes darted around, wide and flickering like the strobing lights above. She seemed frozen, caught in the web of dread and confusion. "Over there. We need to go." She pointed, but just as she spoke, a heavy body crashed down on the table, sending spilled drinks cascading into their faces. With a surge of adrenaline, James propelled them back towards the bar. But something grabbed at the edges of his mind, the shadows. They weren't just figments of fear. They blurred and twisted, coiling between the dancing figures like smoke seeking an outlet. "Mia!" he called out, scanning the crowd. "Where's Mia?" She was right here," Patricia stammered, her voice wavering. She turned, eyes frantically searching the chaos as more screams erupted. The energy of the song shifted dramatically, becoming frenetic and sinister, weaving into their being with every pulse. "Follow me," James barked, his instinct driving him. He grasped Patricia's wrist and they cut through the crowd, ducking under outstretched arms. Adrenaline surged through him, driving his limbs as if they were detached from his will. And then he spotted her, a glimpse of red hair, just behind the bar, resting with an unseen force. "Mia!" he yelled, rushing towards her. But she was locked in a struggle with something unseen. Her face was contorted in pain, and the shadows flickered around her like a swarm of locusts, each one searching for a way inside. "Mia, hold on!" he shouted. Just as they reached her, the bar's back door swung open, light spilling through the darkness and granting them a sliver of hope. James turned, nudging Patricia toward the escape route. "We can't leave her." Patricia's voice quaked with urgency, but the shadows flickered menacingly, drawing closer. A flash of movement made James turn. An agile figure darted in from the darkness, snatching Mia by the arm and yanking her away from the pulsing shadows. It was a man, his expression fierce and determined. "Get out!" he yelled at James and Patricia, dragging Mia towards the exit. Their instinct to flee warred with the need for safety, but the instinct to survive was stronger. James took a deep breath, and they bolted for the door. Suddenly, a thunderous crash sounded as the lights flickered wildly, plunging half the room into darkness. Those that still danced froze, caught between ecstasy and horror. In the darkness, a whisper echoed, seductive and sinister. Wrapping around them, you can't escape me inside. A scream pierced the silence, a full-bodied sound that gripped James's heart. Mia's voice. The man's hold faltered, and in that heartbeat, James felt the pull of the shadows threatening to claim him. James, save me. Mia's plea shattered through the haze of fear, and he hesitated. The man's eyes caught his. Don't look back. But James had to. He could feel the connection, the bond they shared in their fight against this darkness. The shadows loomed, thick and hungry. With a wrenching silence, he tore himself away from the chaos and jumped towards the exit. But just before he reached it, the chilling realization hit him hard. Without the record, without the knowledge it held, they wouldn't just lose Mia. This darkness would spread. James, we have to go, Patricia cried, dragging him. They burst into the cool night air, but the taste of freedom was bitter as the echoes of Mia's scream faded into the night. Heart racing, James turned back toward the club, knowing what he had to do next. The record. They needed that record. But as he looked back, the vivid colors of the club faded into a menacing glow, and he felt a cold knot form in his stomach. A flicker of hope turned to dread. What if Mia was right? What if they were too late to save themselves, let alone her? The shadows had begun to creep beyond the doors into the street, and the music thrummed as if taunting him. What are we going to do? Patricia whispered, her voice shaky as she clutched his arm. I will find that record, he said, eyes hardening with determination. I'll face whatever's inside that club again. But as they took the first steps back, a sharp scream erupted from the darkness, echoing through the night. What have we awoken? James's heart raced, laden with a heavy certainty that something even darker lurked just beneath the surface, ready to be unleashed. Would they uncover the truth behind the song? Or would it consume them all before they even had a chance? James stood at the threshold of the club, dread clawing at his insides. The pulse of the music echoed in the alley, drawing him back as the shadows flickered, hungry for him. He felt Patricia's grip tighten on his arm, a lifeline swirling in the tempest of uncertainty surrounding them. James, we can't go back. A tremor laced her voice, piercing through the chaos of his determination. He turned, searching her eyes for a flicker of reassurance, but only found fear reflecting back. Patricia, we have to. If that record holds the key, then it's the only chance we have to save Mia. Patricia released a shaky breath, her knuckles turning white against the dark fabric of his shirt. But what if we make it worse? James shook his head, rallying his courage. Mia needs us. We can't leave her behind. With resigned acceptance, Patricia nodded, though uncertainty flickered in her gaze. They were both terrified, but they stepped forward, drawn by the distant screams and the almost chilling promise of the shadows as they pushed through the entrance. A wave of warmth enveloped them, an unsettling contrast to the fear outside. The air was thick with an oppressive energy, as if the darkness had taken root, mingling with the shimmers of light. Bodies moved in a haze, yet their faces were blank, mirrors of despair reflecting the stakes at hand. James's heart drummed wildly in his chest as he scanned the room. Where could the record be? A sudden crash echoed from the dance floor, making the ground tremor, and for a fleeting moment, he wondered if the shadows had one. But a silhouette caught his eye, the man who had saved Mia, standing tense and resolute near the bar. Over here, James shouted, pulling Patricia closer. We're going to need help. The man turned, his expression unreadable, but determination burned in his eyes. He motioned them over hurriedly, and as they neared, he raised his voice above the chaos. You need to find the record. It's the only way. Where? Breathlessly demanded James, glancing warily at the approaching shadows, which flickered like restless spirits around them. Back in the DJ booth, he cast a glance toward the hissing shadows. But you won't be alone. The club protects it, but they want to keep it hidden. You have to fight. James's pulse quickened. Fight. The word filled him with dread and exhilaration at once. He brushed the fear aside. Let us go. With urgency surging through him, he squeezed Patricia's hand. They wove through the crowd, every step an act of defiance against the encroaching dark. James felt the shadows grasping at his legs, like icy fingers trying to pull him back into the abyss. Stay close. He barked at Patricia, who nodded, breathless but resolute. They arrived at the DJ booth, a sanctuary perched at the edge of insanity. At first, it appeared abandoned, but the snarls of the beats throbbed like a heart beneath the surface. And then he spotted it, a glint of silver just behind the turntables. There, he yelled, and he lunged forward. But before he could reach the record, a surge of shadow spiraled towards him, feeding off the audacity of his movement. James, don't! Patricia screamed, but the darkness roared like a beast reluctant to let its prey slip away. The shadows cracked and whirred, and for a heart-stopping moment, James felt his body seize. A voice whispered in his mind, promising freedom from fear, enticing like the sweet notes of a forgotten melody. He gritted his teeth, focusing on Mia. No! He yelled against the seductive pull, his mind honing in on the flickering hope that she was still out there. With a quick movement, he reached for the record, fingers brushing its cool surface. He felt it, an electric spark. As he grasped it tightly, a wave of clarity surged through him, combating the shadows. Got it! He shouted, and as he turned, a deafening roar erupted from the darkness. Mia! Echoed in his mind as the shadows swelled and contorted, furious at their disruption. Run! Go! Patricia shouted, pointing back towards the exit. They raced away, shadows snapping at their heels like wild beasts. James's heart pounded against his ribcage, each beat an urgent reminder of the price they might pay. Would the record hold the power to stop this nightmare? Would they secure Mia's safety, or had they awakened something more sinister? As they broke through the crowd, the thundering darkness surged to reclaim them, and a deep growl rolled through the chaos. James and Patricia burst out of the club into the night, but the air was suddenly thick with anticipation. Something dark was awakening. Would they stand a chance against the shadows of their own making? The city was alive with possibilities, but one question loomed over them like a storm ready to pour. What had they truly unleashed within the music? The night air was shockingly cold, a stark contrast to the warmth that had enveloped them inside the club. James raced down the street, fueled by adrenaline. He tightened his grip on the record, feeling its weight like a beacon of hope against the encroaching darkness. James, what's next? Patricia gasped, her breath visible in the chill, fogging up in pale puffs. Her urgency pulled him back, tethering him to the moment. He glanced around, disorientation swirling in his mind. The park. We can hide there. If that record has a chance of fighting whatever's going on, we need to find a secure place. Patricia nodded, determination matching her fear. They picked up their pace, the sounds of the city muffled by the thudding of their hearts. Each step echoed the danger nipping at their heels, shadows swirling in the periphery, lurking like predators waiting for the right moment to strike. As they dashed into the park, the towering trees loomed overhead, their branches resembling skeletal hands reaching out for them. It was strange how quiet it became, as if the very air held its breath. James huddled close to Patricia, their breaths mingling in the cool air as they settled behind a cluster of bushes. Do you think we lost them? Patricia whispered, her eyes wide as she scanned the dimly lit area. James kept still, listening intently. The whispers of the night felt unnervingly quiet, as if the shadows were plotting their next move. I don't know, he murmured, swallowing the lump in his throat. But we have the record. We just need to figure out what to do with it. Patricia shifted beside him, brushing her thumb nervously over the fabric of her jeans. Do you think it really can do something? I mean, can it actually help Mia? I have to believe it can. His voice was steadier than he felt. Thoughts raced through his mind like a wild storm. But maybe we need to play it? Use the right sequence to unleash whatever magic it holds. She eyed the record. Do you think it will initiate some kind of... You remember the chill in the club when I touched it? He interjected. Felt alive. Like it's pulling me towards something. We don't have time. We need to try. Patricia hesitated, fear dancing in her gaze, but she took a deep breath, nodding. Okay, let us do it. With trembling hands, James peeled the record from its sleeve. The moonlight caught the grooves, casting flickering reflections as if the shadows themselves were watching. "Do you think we should play it here?" Patricia frowned, glancing over her shoulder nervously. "It's our best shot," he decided. "If we're gonna fight, we need to summon whatever's hidden in this thing." He rummaged through his backpack for the portable speaker, a simple, small device but crucial in their desperate bid. Pocketing it, he took a deep breath, ready to push the boundaries of fear. The air bristled with potential, an electric charge thrumming beneath the surface. "Are you ready?" he asked, heart thumping in his chest. "Just please be careful." James set the record on the speaker, aligning it carefully. Everyone knew music had the power to evoke emotions, memories, even darkness. But would this record bridge to another realm of reality, the one where shadows pulled at the edges of their sanity? He pressed play, and the moment the sound erupted into the night, it was as if the world stopped spinning. The notes drifted through the trees, hanging heavy in the air. Then, the shadows began to stir. Suddenly, dark shapes materialized around them, swirling and coiling like smoke caught in a breeze. Panic clawed at James's throat as he focused on the sound, his body yearning to harness its power. "What's happening?" Patricia cried, backing away from the dark mass gathering at their feet. The angry whispers blended with the music, and for a brief moment, he saw Mia's face within the shadows, flickering like an apparition. "James, James!" Her voice echoed like a ghostly chant, urging him to pull her from the darkness. "What do we do?" he shouted, feeling the ground tremble beneath him as the shadows rose higher, reaching for the music that now felt more like a curse than a savior. He could barely hear Patricia's frightened voice over the swelling chaos, but it was the last thing he felt before the world faded into a maelstrom of sound and fury. Had they just awakened something even more terrifying? The record was playing, but was it a song of salvation or destruction? And who would ultimately pay the price? The music throbbed through the air, pulsating like a heartbeat that synchronized with their racing pulses. James felt the shadows breathe, wrapping around him like tendrils of smoke, hungry and insatiable. "James!" Patricia shouted again, her voice laced with panic. It pulled him back to reality, just as the shadows lunged, shrieking with a cacophony of sound as if they were infuriated by the very existence of the music. "Hold on," he shouted, pushing the volume. The rhythm shifted, striking deeper into the night, weaving through the trees. The shadows danced in furious frenzy, yet he could see shapes flickering, almost forming into meaningful figures. "Mia?" he whispered, pain clawing at his heart, mingling with a desperate hope. The fleeting glimpse of her face pressed heavier than any burden. But then the shadows thickened, expanding, swirling faster, engrossing the air around them in a tight grip. "What did we do?" Patricia's voice trembled, grappling with the weight of fear. James fought against the panic threatening to swallow him whole. He had to focus. "We need to keep playing it." But inside, he felt the panic wrapping itself around his mind, tightening like a noose. Then, without warning, the music warped. A jarring sound broke through, distorting the notes into something menacing. The shadows twisted, forming grotesque visages, dropping jaws lined with teeth that glimmered in somber moonlight. "Run!" Patricia screamed, her instincts taking over. She pulled at his arm, but he couldn't tear his gaze away from the chaos. "Mia!" He continued to call, but the more he yelled, the more the shadows howled back, drowning out his voice. The record crackled ominously. "James now!" Patricia tugged harder, finally breaking the spell that had him frozen. They stumbled backward, scrambling through the thickening mist, heartbeats in sync as they rushed deeper into the park. But as they moved, the shadows pursued them, shrinking rational thoughts to mere whispers. Panic surged in him. Was this a nightmare that would not end? What if we hurt her? Patricia gasped between breaths, the realization of their own recklessness crashing down on them. James couldn't answer. Images of Mia flickered through his mind but were quickly obscured by dark tendrils creeping closer. "Keep running," he urged, determination ignited. But in the depths of his heart, a whisper begged him to stop. There was something malevolent lurking in the shadows, something meant to guard the truth. They ducked beneath the canopy of trees, branches swaying like hands urging them to turn back. That was when James heard something different, a faint melody. It danced beneath the chaos, a subtle version of the record's song, beckoning him, soft and innocuous. It was as if the shadows were holding their breath, waiting for the truth behind the music to unravel. "James, what's that?" Patricia peeked past him, wide-eyed, her instincts sensing what he felt, the promise of something beneath, something more profound than mere sound. It's guiding us," he said, hesitating. The darkness pulsed, undulating against the new sound. "We need to listen." Just then, an ear-splitting roar shattered the night, a primal scream that sent icy fingers crawling up his spine. The shadows lurched toward them, sinuously reaching, and James knew they had to act fast. Before he could think, he turned sharply towards the sound that called to him, a sound that seemed to promise salvation buried within the horror. He could feel Patricia's hand on his back, urging him onward. "James, what if it's a trap?" she cried, desperation weaving through her voice. "Trust me," he shot back, pressing forward despite the dark figures looming around them. What lay deep in the shadows? Potentially a key to saving Mia, or perhaps something predatory lurking that would strip away their lives. As they rounded a thick tree trunk, the atmosphere warped again. Shadows ebbed and flowed with the sound, drawing them closer to a center, an inexorable force compelling them. What truth would they uncover? Would they free Mia or unleash a nightmare on themselves? The night around them changed, and in the very next heartbeat, they found themselves standing before a massive gateway formed of twisting shadows and pulsating light, an entryway to the unknown. What lay beyond? Without hesitating, James reached for Patricia's hand, and together they stepped forward. The moment they crossed through the threshold, a chill washed over them. It was as if a blanket of cold air had swept in, swallowing the sounds of the night, dampening the frantic beating of their hearts. Silence ruled, heavy and oppressive, but the faint melody persisted, now clearer, more tangible, reverberating around them like a call to the depths of their souls. James blinked, adjusting to the shift in surroundings. The shadows receded slightly, revealing a dimly lit chamber. It felt alive, pulsating with energy that hummed under his skin. Walls formed from gnarled branches twisted together, thick and black, like a forest's heart laid bare. "Where are we?" Patricia whispered, peering into the darkness that seemed to swirl with its own sentience. "I don't know, but I can feel her," James replied, feeling an unseen pull. They advanced cautiously, their footsteps echoing hollowly. The chilling aura wrapped around them, but the gentle melody guided their steps like a lantern in the fog. Further inside, the walls shimmered, reflecting fragmented images, ghostly glimpses of memories. Mia laughing at a summer picnic, her face brightening the drab canvas of the surrounding greenery. Her hand entwined with his in that fleeting moment of bliss. But the joy faded, replaced with anguish, with images of her screaming. Shadows writhed, eager to snatch the light from those precious memories. "James, we shouldn't." Patricia's voice trembled. "What if this is a trap? We can't turn back now," he pressed, sweat starting to bead on his brow. It felt like a descent into madness, but the gravity of Mia's presence compelled him forward. Suddenly, the melody shifted. A hauntingly beautiful tone slipped into the mix, a whisper that ran through him like electricity. It ensnared his senses and brought images crashing into his mind all at once, visions of the night they stumbled onto the record, the thrill of discovery, and the unmistakable connection between the music and the shadows. "What's happening?" Patricia asked, her grip tightening on his hand. "I don't know," he murmured, his eyes drawn to something in the distance, a flickering light that danced beneath the shadows like a firefly caught in a tempest. Together, they moved closer until they were face to face with a figure illuminated by the soft glow. It was a woman, draped in tattered cloth, her features obscured by shadows. Yet, beneath the grime, a familiar warmth radiated, and the melody swelled, revealing a voice they recognized. "Mia?" James breathed, stepping forward despite the trepidation clawing at his insides. The woman looked up, her eyes shimmering like stars in a night sky. "You came for me," she said, her voice melodic yet laced with an echo of despair. "You must understand the music was never meant for you." Patricia recoiled, horrified. "What do you mean?" "The shadows hold the truth of your hearts. They conceal the consequences of your actions," Mia replied softly, stepping forward, her presence soothing but tinged with sorrow. "To save me, you will have to confront what you fear most." James felt as if the ground had slipped beneath him. "I just wanted to save you. But that desire can be a weapon," she warned, taking a step closer, her hand extending toward him. "What would you sacrifice to restore the light?" The shadows began to pulse violently around them, shifting to form monstrous shapes, echoes of regrets and fears swirling in a tempest. James's heart raced as he struggled with the question that hung, heavy and suffocating, in the air. What was he willing to give up? "James!" Patricia's urgent voice cut through the chaos. "We can't stay here." But his gaze was locked on Mia, and he felt time stretch, the decision leading to an unknown path unraveling in front of him. In his chest, hope and dread collided, battling for dominance. "Trust your heart, James," Mia urged. With her words ringing in his ears and the shadows closing in, the chamber trembled, vibrating with the weight of his choice. What would he choose? To face the shadows or risk losing everything? As the distorted melody reached a feverish pitch, James knew the moment was fast approaching, one that would determine their fate forever. The shadows loomed closer, and with a heartbeat, James took a deep breath, ready to make a choice that could either bring light or plunge them into darkness. James's heart thundered in his chest, drowning out the chaotic pulse of shadows swirling around him. The shadows surged forward, thick and tentacled, snaking towards him like restless spirits hungry for his fear. Their whispers sharpened into cries, voices of regret and loss tangled in anguished cacophony. "James, do something," Patricia shouted, panic tightening her voice. "We can't let them take you." He turned to her, desperation in his eyes. "You have to trust me," he yelled back, grounding himself as the shadows loomed even closer. Each monstrous shape seemed to hurl accusations, bringing forth memories James had buried deep within moments of selfishness, choices that had hurt others. The air crackled, each sound more menacing than the last. "Mia!" he called, trying to ground himself in that flickering light, her presence a beacon amid the turmoil. But the shadows hissed, smothering her image, distorting it into something grotesque. "What do you want from me? What do you fear, James?" Mia's voice cut through the chaos, soft yet commanding. "Face your darkness. Only then can you find me." Fear pinched his throat. Ghostly images twisted in front of him, his parents' disappointment, friendships lost to pride, the guilt clawing at his heart for not rescuing Mia sooner. It all spiraled, a vortex of what-ifs and regrets. Would he even be able to confront those shadows? James inhaled deeply, feeling the chill creep inside him, pooling in his stomach. "I fear losing everything." The admission felt like a raw wound exposed. "So be it," Mia replied, her eyes locking onto his, the darkness around her losing its grip momentarily as a glimmer of hope pierced through. "To mend the light, you must first embrace your fears." He hesitated, the shadows urging him to flee, to retreat into the comfortable numbness of denial. But the thought of Mia, of their memories, of the laughter and love spurred him forward. "What must I do?" "Let go," she said simply, extending her hand toward him. The shadows shrieked in protest, recoiling as light began to filter through, refracting off the darkness like splintered glass. "James!" Patricia screamed, pulling him back, her grip unbreakable. "Don't." But deep within, he was aware. Confronting those shadows promised a path forward, a way to mend what had been broken. Straining against Patricia's hold, he stepped toward Mia. "No!" Patricia shouted. With a final, decisive act, he lunged forward, reaching for Mia's hand. In that instant, the floor beneath him shuddered, a vibration that seemed to echo with laughter and cries. Light burst forth, engulfing him, and suddenly he stood in a bright expanse, like stepping from a wormhole into a clear sky. The oppressive shadows faded but didn't disappear, swirling at the edges of his vision, roiling and writhing, screaming with the voices of his past. What happened? He stammered, breathless and disoriented. His heart racing. Mia stood before him, bathed in ethereal light, her expression softening. You've taken the first step. But your journey is far from over. You must still face what you've left behind. Then what happens to the shadows? He asked, glancing back, fear creeping back into his heart. They will not be vanquished easily, James. They are part of you, she declared, a tragic tone threading through her words. The shadows hold your truth. To confront them is to face the darkest parts of yourself. Patricia's voice cut through the cosmic haze, panic fluttering in her tone. What if confronting them means losing you again? The world around him began to shake, the light flickering, and shadows closing in once more, whispering promises of loss. What will you choose? Mia asked, almost a challenge. James felt the tension crackle, woven with fear and determination. Would he dare to delve deeper into the hidden parts of himself, risking everything to restore the light they had fought for? The question echoed, vibrating with urgency as the edges of the light began to darken once more. And just like that, he could feel the shadows reaching, longing to consume him. The next move could seal their fate or tear apart everything he loved. Could he truly face his darkness, knowing the price it could extract? With a rush of clarity, James understood. He had always been wrapped in success, the echo of applause drowning out the cries for help buried deep within. The shadowy figures were more than nightmares, they were remnants of choices, regrets, and the people left behind in his pursuit of power. Face my darkness? He murmured, uncertain but resolute. I can do that. I need to do that. He turned to Patricia, who stood wide-eyed, fear mingling with hope. I won't let it consume me. I won't let it take you or Mia again. The shadows hissed, a tangible tension vibrating through the air, as if they were aware of his resolve. James. Patricia's voice was laced with urgency. We need to stay together. But he knew this was a personal fight. He had to step into the heart of the shadows, where the darkest parts of him waited, whispering of failure and betrayal. He needed to unravel their hold before they swallowed him whole. I'll find you, Mia, he cried, locking eyes with her, and together we'll confront what we fear. The moment the words left his lips, the shadows surged, dark tendrils swirling around him like a tempest. With a fierce lunging motion, James stepped forward, the echoes of his past clawing at his mind. In that instant, he was no longer a powerful CEO. He was simply a man desperate for redemption, longing to mend the broken ties that had once uplifted him. Who do you think you are? One shadow snarled, morphing into familiar faces, former friends, colleagues, the people he had trampled in his quest for success. You abandoned us, James. You sacrificed us for your gain. No, he shouted, the sound reverberating through the chamber as he fought to stand tall against their accusations. You were part of my journey. I was wrong to silence you. I shouldn't have let ambition blind me to love and loyalty. In that moment of realization, a glowing light radiated from within him as he surrendered to the truth, his loneliness, his insecurities, all pieces of who he was. The shadows writhed, howling with anger as if they were losing their grip on him. James pressed forward, determination arcing through him like electricity. I choose to embrace you. I choose to acknowledge my past and learn from it. The warmth spread, illuminating the darkness around him, and the shadows recoiled, twisting into all shapes of fear and regret, slowly unraveling under his acceptance. A whirlwind of emotions converged, cascading over him, bringing clarity and strength. Mia, you're worth it all. I'll fight for you, for us. In that moment, he felt Mia by his side, and Patricia close too, their existing connections fueling a surge of hope. James' Mia's voice wrapped around him, soothing yet commanding. You're doing it. You're breaking free. I won't let them control me anymore, he shouted, standing firm, recalling every memory, every moment of connection. allowing them to shine brilliantly in the midst of shadow. Together, they surged forward, and the shadows screamed, dispersing into vapor as light consumed them. The chamber flickered, a symphony of sound and warmth harmonizing with the record that now played sweetly instead of sinister, pulsing through the air like a heartbeat of liberation. "Let them go, James," Mia urged softly. "You've faced what you feared the most, and now it's time for healing." As he heard her words radiate clarity, he stepped from the void, leaving behind the fragments of regret. The light expanded, enveloping them in its embrace, and for the first time he felt safe. They stumbled back into the park, night air tugging at them gently. The shadows lost their power, scattering like fallen leaves in the wind. "You did it," Patricia whispered, tears brimming in her eyes as she reached for him. He caught her hands, holding her tight, feeling her warmth grounding him firmly in the moment. "Not yet," James said, glancing around. "We still need to bring Mia back." "Trust in each other," Mia urged softly, her ethereal form shimmering with newfound hope. With a nod, they understood. James pressed the record gently to his chest. "We'll always find our way back to each other," he declared, moving forward with Patricia at his side, ready to confront the world anew. The shadows dissipated into nothingness, sound rising as the melody whispered of second chances, echoing across the night sky. They stepped together into a future brimming with promise, forging the bonds that mattered most: love, loyalty, and the courage to face whatever lay ahead. As dawn broke, the world ignited with warmth, each ray of sunlight bringing hope, and with it, a promise. The dark truth behind the song may have changed, but their hearts were now filled with light and endless possibility. Remember, every subscriber counts. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support for all the hard work that goes into these narratives. We want to hear from you. Flood the comments section below with your thoughts on this wild conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this epic finale. Your support makes a huge difference.